The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster Mai, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Open line through till 1, so the floor is yours. Lines are open on 66 13 68. You can also text on 166 177, WhatsApp 166 177, or email studio@manxradio.com. And I just wonder whether you have any reflections on the Treasury Minister, Alex Allinson, MHK, who was on yesterday, talking about where we are. Very honest, wasn't he? We are using our reserves. We're spending what we have in the bank, but it's in an effort to rejuvenate the economy and to get tax receipts up for the future, various strategies. And any thoughts on anything that he had to say, then by all means do get in touch. There was one question I didn't manage to get to Dr. Allinson yesterday, but I'll just put it out there anyway in case you know something about this. From Texter 907, when a person has moved to the Isle of Man after working in the UK for part of their life and pays a stamp here or gets a job for a few years before they retire, how much Manx pension do they get? And I've been told that some people are receiving a full Manx pension as well as a UK pension. What is that situation? Well, we didn't get that to him, but if you've got an opinion on that, or indeed if you know for a fact what happens in that situation, then by all means get in touch. Our Chief Minister, Texter 776, our Chief Minister informs us offshore wind farms can't make money at present, so we can't take this road. How is this? Offshore wind farms must currently sell electricity to wholesalers for £37.50 per megawatt hour. Far too cheap to break even. They need at least £60 per megawatt hour, as wholesale electricity is sold on for over 80 megawatts, £80 per megawatt hour. Wind farms could surely receive more. Gas-generated electricity, says Texter 776, gets £70 per megawatt hour, yet at a new recent contract auction in the UK set a maximum price limit of only £44 per megawatt hour for wind-generated electricity. Of course, nobody took it. I think it's absurdity from over-regulation and manipulation, says Richie. Well, quite what we can do about it in the Isle of Man, I don't really know. The Chief Minister's point was that an offshore wind farm we couldn't have our own offshore wind farm, or the point he was making, in that we couldn't. We basically would make too much electricity in fits and starts to serve the Isle of Man. So it's better that we lease our seabed to Ørsted, who will then funnel it in back through the UK, and we'll take some of the money for renting the seabed. So that was the point the Chief Minister was making. Yesterday, I attended a clinic, says Jill, at Noble's Hospital. 5 out of the 8 people expected at the clinic had not turned up. Is it any wonder you can't get consultants to move to the Isle of Man when they're treated with such disrespect, says Jill. If you can't attend your appointment, at least have the courtesy of informing the clinic that you should have attended. I just wonder whether we file this under people who don't attend GP appointments. And it's been mooted occasionally that those people should suffer a financial penalty. If you have a GP appointment and you willfully don't pitch up, then that's somebody else's appointment that you've taken. And similarly, if you've got a consultant appointment at Noble's Hospital, again, if 5 out of the 8 people, I'm not saying that's typical, but it does happen occasionally. If you've gone to a consultant's appointment recently, has everybody been there who should have been there? We're trying to make the health service work, and of course you can only spend money once. So quite what we do about that. Just what are your thoughts? And this is a caring dentist who dropped me a note to say the area of NHS dentistry is in an absolute mess. And it's been caused by politicians. The politicians have done this, and government officials who don't have any real idea how to sort out the problem of NHS dentistry. What follows is a quote from our website in the news. We wrote, the health body revealed last week that nearly 4,000 people on the Isle of Man are waiting to be registered with NHS dentists. Laurie Hooper says the solution is simple. They have to purchase more units from the dental practices. The units refer to UDAs. These are units of dental activity. And obviously what they have to do fits into various units. This shows, says this caring dentist, that Mr. Hooper's no understanding of the current situation where one of the biggest providers is Portman Dental, who are giving units back to the DHSC. So how can a practice in the south be paid over £36 a unit when a provider in the north is only getting £24 per unit for the same NHS units of treatment? Well, we didn't know this, but if that's the truth, now we do. Maybe the DHSC Manx should sort this problem out first. Grovemount Dental Practice has offered to take on units and offer NHS treatment for the last few years and has been met with a refusal. 4,000 people waiting to be registered with an NHS dentist. It doesn't seem really to be getting any better, does it? David's on now. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy. I didn't have time. It was great to see Dr. Elson performing yesterday, if I could say that, on issues there. But the other questions we should have asked him is, and to all the senior politicians is, because we're not in the UK, what disadvantages or advantages are we not getting? My biggest kick is annoying all the time when I said to you months ago, didn't I could have got 3 panels for my roof, PV panels, and I filled all the forms in and got the main one. Where do you live? I live in the Isle of Man. Email comes back straight away. You're not eligible because you're not in the UK.
And which organisation was this?
I can't remember now. It was an organisation. These things you fill in and you get a chance. 1 in a million chance you're probably going to get it. Some free panels on the roof. But you're excluded or we're discriminated against because we live in the Isle of Man. I mean, I don't mind because I'm Manx born. And I'm sure there are other advantages like if we're all going to be given electric cars, what incentives are we going to have to provide them? Are we going to change to putting turbines on the roof or putting PV panels in or evacuating tubes like I've got on my garage there?
Well, at the moment in Jersey, they've just introduced that scheme in Jersey where you get £3,500 to buy an electric vehicle.
Well, isn't it the start? I mean, I just wonder where we used to have, and I'll go back a little bit to Tony Brown, Alan Bell, were chief ministers at the time. They always had somebody that was out there selling us, telling us where we were, telling us what we do, telling we're a Crown dependency, where the Isle of Man is in a central position between England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales and all that, the links that we could have or should have, for the future. But I don't see exploring any of it.
And you would have thought if somebody is doing that, government will be telling us about the fact that somebody's spreading the name far and wide.
It is, and that's it. That's the saddest thing is you can beat your own drum. It's like tourism, isn't it? Once you get people to come here to experience something, never mind the TT and the Manx Grand Prix and all the other bits. Look at all the other things we're missing out too on Cycle Week, if we could still have something like that, or the Scooter Week. There must be loads of scooter lads that's still running around. They do come now and again. I think there was about 15 or 20 of them that came about a few years ago. But how do we encourage these people to come? I mean, it's so easy now getting on the internet and putting a page up to say what we do, where we are, and this is the way you do it.
Okay.
And the saddest thing I got on with government is when you ring a number up and automatically it says, this is not a voicemail system. Goodbye.
Did you? What did you make of Dr. Allinson's response about variations to contract yesterday?
I think, and I'm hoping, Mr. Watterson on the Public Accounts Committee, and he was fairly hinting there, the truth's going to be in that report. So we need to get that report needs to come back when they're back in October. I don't know when Mr. Watterson, as the chair of the Public Accounts Committee, is going to do that. And it's going to be, I think it was hinting, Dr. Alson was hinting, it's going to be warts and all. So I presume he's not involved in it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, David.
Right.
Cheers now.
See you.
Good
Bye.
to hear from you. Wilf's with us now. Hi, Wilf.
Hi, it's just that, well, it's a bit strange, but I wait for the Mannin Line to come on. And yesterday, I fell asleep. And I missed most of it, which seems ridiculous. But anyway, did anybody come on and complain about the price of the car going up, the price, the license for the car?
Oh, the car tax. No, nobody mentioned it. Why?
Well, I'll tell you why. I don't know what sort of car you drive, Andy, but I drive an ordinary, pretty old Jeep, which is 2.5 litre. It was ridiculous at 244. Now it's 288. A 40 quid lift in one go.
Crap.
So anybody with the same size car as that, 2.5 litre, you're in trouble.
£284.
Eight.
288.
288. It was 244. Now it's 288.
How old is it? Petrol or diesel?
Diesel.
And how old is it?
Oh, I don't know. In the 90s, sometime, I suppose. Maybe. What are we now? I don't know. It could be 2000 or something. I never looked, to tell you the truth. Hang on. I think I got a paper here in front of me. It doesn't say how old it is. Anyway, it makes no difference. Everybody's in the same boat. Now we're just curious to see if anybody mentioned it. They're grabbing money wherever they can find it.
And what's the state? What's the state of roads in Ramsey like?
Same as anywhere else, scramble course. But anyway, that's besides the point. We expect a lift in the license every year, like a couple of quid, up to a fiver. But 44 quid in one lump. That's more than some people are paying for the whole car. You know, it's just ridiculous.
You don't think, and this is the side that the people who advocate for the climate would say, you don't need a 2.5 litre vehicle, Wilf. You should make do with a 900cc car.
With the amount of junk that I carry in mine, I need a 3 or 4 litre.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Wilf. Good to hear from you. And with us now, it's Nigel. Hi, Nigel. Thanks for the question yesterday, by the way.
Yeah, it was good, and I think I made my point, and I think he came across with some answers that possibly we were looking for. More so the answer of obviously who's going to be responsible. But what I don't understand is, like, if you build a property, if you wanted a house built, it's going to cost you £500,000 and you designed it, and there was an issue underneath the house, you've got a river problem underneath, or there's a leak, then you're adding your costs to it. That was a building that was being built. The plans were in, and everything was going ahead, and then suddenly they come back and they want more money. But what do they want more money for? That couldn't have been just labour costs and materials. That's ridiculous when it goes into millions.
Well, what they were saying was it was voids and World War II ordnance that they found.
Oh, so there was an issue, but millions and millions. But what's really annoyed me, being in the tourist industry, that's exactly what happened with Douglas Promenade. They went under the ground and they had all the pipework, all the hotels and B&B pipework that was the problem. So they had to address that, and they obviously used the horse tram money for it. But if they can give it to Douglas, if they can give it to Liverpool Docking Station on the nod to say, right, they found more things, we need to give you more, why couldn't they have done that with the horse trams? I know it doesn't make money, and that's why Douglas Corporation let it go and the government picked it up. But it's our heritage, and whether it makes money or not, people come to the Isle of Man specifically for the heritage, the Cregnish sites, the Castle Russian, the horse trams, and the steam in the railway. So while they're here, it might not make money on the horse trams, but they're spending money in the bed and breakfast and restaurants, so it goes into tourism.
And that's
what they want to do is
but that's the equation that some people refute, because it's the difference between a must-have and a nice-to-have. We simply have to have a landing stage in Liverpool because we're being bounced off the one that we're on at the moment because they're putting cruise liners on there. So we have to have, some people would say that the horse trams are nice to have.
Right, OK, we've got increasing revenue in cruise ships that are coming over here. They've got to do that because they want cruise ships. So on one breath, we're saying we're making it big enough for cruise ships there, but we can't have a pontoon in Douglas for the cruise ships that are going to come to us. It doesn't make sense. Our government do half things half-cocked, and they never get things finished. It's like half a tram. You might as well not have the tram, but the purpose of it is that people say it doesn't make money. So, right, it's an opportunity to say, right, let's get rid of it because, yes, it's not a necessity, but the wildlife park isn't. I'm sure Cregnish is not making money. The wildlife park doesn't make money. There's probably most of our attractions over here that don't make money. So what they're going to do is shut the lot down and let's not have a tourism business altogether.
And this is the point, that we have lots of small things, and together lots of small things make a big thing. But you're familiar with the phrase death by 1,000 cuts. It depends which little things you let drop off, and at what point, with so many little things dropping off, you damage the core offering, the core tourism offering. You know, we don't have one gigantic totemic offering for tourism on the Isle of Man. We have lots of small to medium-sized ones.
Yeah, but we've got an increase of cruise ships that are coming in that want to, and it's increasing and building, and it is building over the years. So if we start losing all that, the cruise ships are going to turn around and we're going to lose that business.
And remember, their strategy is to grow tourism. It's not to let it wither. It's not to let it go. It's not to let it crumble away. They want to grow tourism, Nigel.
I think I need to go for this. I think I need to put myself in, you know. I think I need to be one of these next MHKs.
Not long to go now. Not long to go. September 2026, Nigel.
I'm too old for it, and I wouldn't last 5 minutes.
Age is just a number, Nigel.
Anyway, Tim Crooker will be on soon, so I know him well. So he knows by now he needs to put them socks on because I'll be nipping at his ankle.
All right. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome.
All right, good to hear from you. 24 minutes past 12. So Dr. Allinson was on yesterday, and David mentioned Juan Watterson. Juan's going to be on actually in November. Do you remember a while back we had both Albury Castle Town and Maloo MHKs on, had Jason Morehouse and Tim Glover. We're having both Garth MHKs on towards the end of this month. Daphne Kane and Andrew Smith will be on talking about Garth and exactly what the issues, problems and opportunities are in Garth. And in November, both Russian MHKs will be on, Michelle Haywood and Juan Watterson, and no doubt we'll talk to Juan Watterson about the accounts and what's going to happen because he has sight of that. But that's in November, Michelle Haywood and Juan Watterson on together. Before then, in October, Julie Edge will be on, the Department of Education, Sport and Culture Minister. Jane Poole Wilson from Home Affairs, along with her Chief Exec, Dan Davis, will be on. And also Deborah Heather and Ranald Corwell from Visit Isle of Man. Deborah's Chief Exec, Ranald is Chair of Visit Isle of Man, if you like, the tourism bit of the Department for Enterprise. And Gary Cobzon, the Airport Director, will be on in October as well. So any thoughts on those? And if you are in Ramsey, I just wonder what your thoughts are regarding this lamppost. Ramsey commissioners voted against the plan last night. There was a plan for a local art gallery to paint the lamppost outside its shop. This came up last month. Members of the local authority called it a ridiculous idea, which will be dangerous to paint it due to electrical safety and its height. Now, this is a fairly naff old lamppost. It was disputed that only 2.5 metres of the lamppost could be painted, and some of the owners will be on commissioners to ensure that it was safe. The Deputy Chair, Rob Cowell, said he appreciates the ingenuity of the idea for the art gallery to paint the lamppost, would prefer them to paint a shelter in Murrock Park. An amendment was made to say that the board would support the painting of the shop if the owner decided to. The vote against the painting of the lamppost was carried by 6-4. So if you're in Ramsey and you see that lamppost, send us a photo of it and see how bad it actually is. Hey, it's Bonzo now. Hi, Bonzo.
Hi there, yes. Just listening to Nigel there and his response on things and talking about tourism. I think the thing about tourism, which also comes into other areas actually of the economy, is the fundamentals of actually getting onto this rock and getting off it again, or getting anything that you produce or want to sell off the rock or on it. And the primary way of that happening is, of course, via the steam packet. Now, I was seeing actually on, I think it was on the Manx Radio News website anyway, that farmers were saying that freight costs were pretty much sort of crippling them. And if you're wanting to develop a tourism industry, well, one of the first things you've got to do is to allow people to be able to afford to actually come here in the first place. No visitors, no tourism business. So with that, and also with the economic constraints that the current pricing model of the steam packet has, and also, of course, with the idea that now, well, we've got 2 ships. One of them has a third more capacity than the other, our new ship, and that's got to be filled. How are we going to fill it? Not at these prices, I can tell you. So what we need to do is to take a much more interventionist line, and more along the lines of CalMac in Scotland, in that we look at the steam packet as a lifeline service, and that it shouldn't be subject to the same kind of arm's length economic model which is used now, where it's just run like any other business. Well, it isn't any other business. It's a monopoly for a start, and now it's effectively a state-owned monopoly, although, of course, it's just something that we own 100% of the shares of and that we collect the dividends from. But it should be a vital part of national economic and social policy.
Whose job is it then? Do you think it's Visit Isle of Man's job to sit on the edge of the steam packet managing director's desk and say, look, we need to do something, we need to work together? Or who? I mean, how far up the ladder would you go?
That's got to be Treasury and the Chief Minister. I mean, the Treasury, technically speaking, owns the steam packet. And it would be the Treasury, of course, who'd be providing some form of subvention to the steam packet in order for those broader economic things to happen. But that would have to happen. And increasingly we will see the necessity of that it's just economic madness, really, to try and run the steam packet as a commercial concern.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Thanks, Bonzo.
Okay, then. Thanks.
Good to hear from you. Howard's with us now. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. I just listened to that Nigel. He was more or less saying what I said the other day, that the tourist industry on the island has been decimated. in so much that there's no tourist board now that looks after the direct interest of the tourist industry. It's all put together in a mishmash under the Enterprise Board, which is like the DOI is growing and growing and growing, and it's becoming more and more obscure because the things that they're dealing with, a lot of them are not relating to tourism. They're relating to other different things within the island, and they're getting their fingers in too many pies, and they're not doing the job as the tourist industry needs. And this is where they need to be, like they were talking with the DOI. It grew and got to the point where it was neither use nor ornament. It wasn't doing anything except chasing its own tail. Well, this is what the Department of Enterprise is going to be like in not too many, in a couple of years' time. They'll be as big and as ineffective as the DOI was until there was a sudden separation last year.
And do you think then the tourism element of this, the Visit Isle of Man element, is was it getting swallowed up by Enterprise?
Yes. They've got, as I've just said, too many fingers and too many pies, and they're not doing the jobs. It's all been sectionalised, and they've all got their own little priorities, but nobody is, in all honesty, can say, I am looking after tourism. They have that collective thing, we, and we in tourism like that doesn't work because, as I said the other day, and Nigel more or less reiterated, they come in at 9 o'clock in the morning and go home at 5. But tourism doesn't work like that. They're 24/7.
I was struck last week by Jed Power, who was in on Friday, and Jed was talking. He said the F word is missing, and that word is fun. Fun is missing, and I'm not suggesting that we be facetious, no ribaldry or anything like that. Fun is a very serious business when you're in the business of fun,
and.
You remember David Cretney when he was Minister of Fun.
Right.
That was we all knew that was a cover because David is a very canny politician. He had a very able head of tourism, Terry Toohey, who was there. Mm-hmm. They were both serious about the business of fun.
Yeah. Well, admittedly, there were more people coming here, but they've said they want to actively encourage another up to 500,000. But in the 1960s, 70s, there were a lot of individual companies within the UK coming to the island, coach parties. But when tours were operating here in the latter years, in the mid-1970s, they had 53 coaches. Now, that's a good fleet for a tiny island. And that accommodated the number of people that were coming to the island. Sometimes it was unable to accommodate them. But I notice now that one of the companies, they've done the direct flights from the airport here to various parts of, Europe. And they're starting to do it again, Newmarket. But there were shearings, green slades and all that. A lot of those have disappeared from the UK, yes. But there was a point where the likes of the Manx Viking, when the Manx Line was running, if you had X number of people on board, the coach more or less travelled free. And, you'd fill a coach up and the coach would come over for nothing. And those people would be here for a week, 10 days or whatever, and then go back again. But it was economic. And now we have the bigger ship. And I can't for the life of me understand why they want to get rid of the Ben. Because that would leave you with just the Arrow. And you can't put passengers on the Arrow if anything goes wrong with the Mannin Manxman. And which we've got now, with a couple of little troublesome things with both vessels. The Ben is sitting there, and she is an ideal backup. But, as I say, with the tourism, they've got to have somebody that wants to do it and is prepared to put hard work into it. Okay. Tourism doesn't come up and smack you in the nose and say, I want to be able to do this. You've got to go out and create it. Remember, they used to go away from here. what's her name, Leonard Bond.
Yes, Len Bond.
Terry Tui, they would go off the island and advertise. And they even, Jeff Corker should tell you, the steam packet had a bus that went away that was like a ship. And they would park up in the various places where they were doing tourism from. But here again, I think now the problem is they've got a roll packs and a passenger roll now. They put them the other way around. But they're making the money out of the freight. The passengers are incidental.
Okay. All right, Howard.
Just as Wilf was saying, I've just looked at mine. The vehicle tax on my vehicle, the van, has gone up £27 this year, and that's for a diesel transit van.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Howard.
Okay. Take care. Bye
24 minutes before 1, a note in from Big John in Laxey says, we're at a point now financially, austerity measures have to be implemented as before they worked. Our current government can talk fantastically as how to we keep readying the reserves, but the figures speak for themselves. We should stop using our reserves. We need the money, John. The price increases on vehicle tax warranted. More CC, more tax. So save the planet, says Big John. Are your listeners aware, says KJ, that the planning department counters closed on Wednesday and Thursday? They're just open 3 days a week. Regarding Dr. Allison's comments yesterday, one important issue he didn't mention was the cutting the cost of government, which is contributing to our budget overspend. Every thinking person sees the exponential rise in the number of civil servants in the time of this and the last government, and not least their long-term on-cost in terms of their gold-plated final salary pensions. Does everybody get a final salary? Anyway, which those who pay for it generally do not enjoy. Listening on the catch-up, I was amazed nobody called into challenging him on the most important issue, cutting the cost of government. Everybody says they want to. The last person to do it, of course, was Alan Bell. Car tax is going to be nearly £1,000 this year. Somebody sent a WhatsApp in of theirs. £802 at the moment. Theirs is. Thank you for that. WhatsApper 023. If you want to get in touch, by the way, then by all means, text, email, call and WhatsApp. And can anybody tell us about this situation where somebody who lives in the UK for part of their life, pays a stamp on the Isle of Man or gets a job for a few years? How much pension you get here? Is it a full Manx pension as well as a UK pension as well? Anybody got any ideas?
Got a news story for the Nation Station? Email newsroom@manxradio.com.
Mom, Dad, there's no hot water again.
Having trouble with hot water and heating? Energy prices are rocketing, and there's never been a more important time to make sure your heating system is in tip-top condition. Home Warm by Energy Management Systems is the simple way to spread the cost for essential maintenance, starting from just $7.99 per month. For peace of mind and money-saving advice, call EMS on 613-210 or find us on Facebook. Home Warm by EMS. Become our priority.
The Isle of Man Festival of Motoring is back with the biggest lineup of American cars ever seen on the island. And what's more, you can take a ride in some of them. Come and see the cars from 10 till 4 on Loch Promenade on Saturday, 16th September. And the Sporting Bears will be giving you the chance to take a ride in one of their amazing cars, with all proceeds going to Wish Upon a Dream. Hit IOMFM.com for details and timing. The Isle of Man Festival of Motoring, revving up the island this September.
Find a hidden gem in the Isle of Man, the Abbey Restaurant Ballasalla. This old country house offers a relaxed and sophisticated atmosphere where you can wind down with unique and interesting fresh food and drinks, from dinner with fine wines to tea and exquisite cakes. Enjoy our fantastic lunch menu with fresh specials or join us for afternoon tea and dinner. To book, click theabbey.im, find the Abbey on Facebook or call 822 393.
Bringing you the best of the island's produce. Don't miss the Isle of Man Food and Drink Festival, celebrating its 15th anniversary. This year's Food and Drink Festival promises to be bigger and better than ever, with new producers on display and an exciting new space to discover locally produced drinks. It's on Saturday and Sunday, the 16th and 17th of September at the Villa Gardens, Douglas. For more information, visit iomfoodanddrink.com. The Isle of Man Food and Drink Festival, celebrating the very best of Manx produce.
Get ready for another winning weekend on Manx Radio.
To celebrate the massive September sale at B&B Furniture, you can win an incredible £200 voucher to spend on anything in store.
Visit manxradio.com and answer the competition question for your chance to win. You can enter as many times as you like.
Then make sure you're listening to Manx Radio Breakfast on Monday morning and we'll announce the winner.
Make this your winning weekend with your nation station, Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Interestingly, the airmail didn't happen today. No airmail's been received this morning. Therefore, priority items, including special delivery, Parcel Force 24 won't be delivered. Local to local, C-mail is unaffected. Well, of course, it won't make much difference in the future because we're getting rid of the aircraft that used to convey mail between the UK and the Isle of Man. 16th of October, it all goes. No airmail for that, so we'll get used to that. Unfortunately, the Manx government and local government and commissioners have destroyed the island. It's a bit extreme, and nobody cares anymore. Presumably you do. You care. Text to 615, otherwise you wouldn't have texted in. We don't want prices too low. Now, this is interesting because, again, Jed Power was talking about the race to the bottom. Do we want a race to the bottom? Do we want prices to the Isle of Man to be low? And Desmond says we don't want prices that we will end up with lager louts if prices are low. So presumably we want higher class tourists to come to the Isle of Man to attract higher class tourists who will spend money over here. Let's be honest. So how do you do that? How do you get people here? I agree with Bonzo, says May. We need to drop the cost of sailing to the Isle of Man. We own the steam packet. Surely we can do it. Thank you for that, May. Good to hear from you. And a note in that just says it's actually 35 years and you get a proportion of the Manx state pension if you have between 10 and 34 qualifying years of national insurance contribution in the Isle of Man. So thank you for that. 667. Can you play a request for Ramsey Town Commissioners? Of course, you know we never play music on Mannin Line, but Fran says, could you make an exception, Leaning on a Lamppost by George Formby for this poor lamppost in Ramsey that has been rent asunder. And Pam says there are more important topics than lampposts. Well, not according to Ramsey Commissioners. But then again, surely this is part of the small detail. You want lampposts to be pretty, don't you? I'd like to have asked Dr. Allinson if the 18 million Manx Care were given for dealing with a waiting list is on top of the 28 million, 27.2 million it is, anyway, that are overspent that will take this to near 50 million, which is over 5 times what the DHSC were before Manx Care started. How, with an already increased budget, they've spent so much without much to show for it? So, well, they've got a lot to show for it, but we take your point, Dick. You're not happy. Let's talk horse trams, says Andy. Cruise ships come and go nearly every week of the year. 0 passengers get on the horse trams. The trams have been set up to fail. Also, says Andy, the horse trams get zero marketing. When did you last hear a Manx Radio advert for horse trams, like you do for the steam railway and the electric railway? If there's no pie and mash marketing, they don't want to know. At the moment, they run from a tram interchange to a kebab house. It's a very nice kebab house, Marmaris. It's very nice. Anyway, who wants to ride that? And £5 return is very steep. The oldest horse tramway in the world should be kept at the heart of the Isle of Man, says Andy. We are where we are, aren't we? It is a halfway horse tram from Derby Castle to Castlemona Avenue, and that is your lot. Whether or not it will continue, and if it does continue, if it does go to and I say if it goes to the sea terminal, it's going to be going down that grassway at the moment, which is at the rear of parked vehicles. And it has to be said, although large vehicles shouldn't park on Loch Promenade, some do. And especially at weekends, you will see rather large commercial vans, sometimes with number plates from a cross on there, so maybe they're not quite aware of it. Now, if the horse trams are going to be trundling up and down that in the future, what happens if somebody parks wrongly? What will they be doing? Getting the owner out of bed in one of the hotels and getting them to move it? We'll see. Thanks for that. I worked in the UK years ago, for 2 years only, but earned a good wage, paid a lot of NI. Then my UK and Manx pensions would eventually have been combined into one pension. Nowadays, the UK element is considered to have been too insignificant to count for a UK pension. I just get a Manx pension based on my Manx contributions. So, what's going on with the Manx Net weather? It used to be the best weather report available. Now it only tells you what the current weather is doing. I've not looked at that lately. If you want the official word, go to the government website. You get the weather straight from Ronaldsway Airport. Do you think it's that amount of people who miss the appointment phone? Could it be how long you have to wait for people doing the alternative feel better, says Barry. Lots of words, wrong order, Barry. My wife received a notice of telephone appointment with a pain consultant for the end of March next year. It's a long wait to be in pain, says Tom. I agree, Tom. I'm registered to a dental surgery, but I don't have a dentist. So there are more than 4,000 people without dental care, says Jan. Is that true? Can you be registered to a surgery but not have a dentist attached? We shouldn't be allowing electric vehicles onto the Isle of Man, full stop. They're a con, and they're worse than petrol, says 775. Well, thank you for your opinion. Please, do the motorists who get parking tickets recently in Peel along East Quay have to pay them, says Andy. Why did you get one?
Island Hearing Limited, your local hearing care specialist since 2009, with branches in Port Erin and Ramsey. We provide the very latest hearing aid technology available, which you can try at home, with excellent aftercare and a wax removal service available using microsuction. Give us a ring on 830 722 or visit Island Hearing at One Station Road, Port Erin. We're happy to help. Island Hearing, always listening.
The Isle of Man Government Conference is your chance to put questions directly to ministers about key topics of education, housing and infrastructure, and finance. 20th and 21st September at the Villa Marina. Registration is free, in advance or on the door. Visit gov.im/IOMGC. Building a better future together.
DT Gas. Is your boiler costing a fortune to run? DT Gas. DT Gas will replace it with an efficient Alpha and X complete with 13-year parts and labour warranty. Or save even more with the Alpha E-Tech hybrid system, the heat pump package that works with any new Alpha Gas boiler to give you the best of both worlds. Call Dean at DT Gas now on 264 040. 264 040. DT Gas.
Construction waste today.
Tells recycle for another day.
A builder skip or two.
Tells Skips will bring to you.
At Tells Skip Hire and Waste Disposal in Snugborough, you only pay for the waste you bring. For waste disposal and skips, give us a call on 677 137. That's 677 137. Visit Tells today or find Tells Limited on Facebook.
Call Tells Skips today.
677 137.
I'm Mike Buttle. Join me on Thursday night on Manx Radio at 6 for a second series of journeys on our fantastic heritage railways. This time, it's the wonderful Manx Electric Railway. In the final episode, I'll be looking at an almost secret rail service that takes place occasionally on Snaefell Mountain. I'll relive the fabulous Steam on the Electric events of the 1990s with two of the people who helped make them happen. And find out how the mail used to arrive in Ramsey by tram via the postal service on the electric railway that continued from the 1890s through until the 1970s. That's Thursday at 6, or listen online at manxradio.com.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
10 to 1 on Manx Radio. The Manx Wild Bird Aid is one of the charities which is benefiting from our next live showing of IM1, A New Hope at the Centenary Centre. Centenary Centre is, of course, a charity as well, so I think they're splitting the money between the Manx Wild Bird Aid and the Centenary Centre. And if you haven't yet got your ticket, then be ready there. Every advocate on the Isle of Man apparently is going with a new sharpened pencil. It's Julian now. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. Just interested to hear about an assertion that renewable energy is cheaper than fossil fuels. Sometimes you just got to have a look at prices. It's interesting that the 29 states in America that have got renewable energy mandates, or what's referred to as REMs, are paying 3 times more than the other states, which is something you can infer in. And it does seem that strange. I mean, can you ever imagine if a power station was switched off, you'd still have to pay for it when it wasn't generating any electricity?
Well, I mean, that happens with nuclear power stations, doesn't it? When a nuclear power station is decommissioned, you're still paying for years with what's left over. So it does happen in some cases.
But that's not the electricity that it's generating. That's more in terms of its disposal. And again, that's something, they use something called levelized cost of electricity with trying to level up how it appears with renewables as it does with fossil fuels. But there's no mention of like the cost of disposal of turbine blades or the large amounts of mining and all the diesel engines that it costs to actually make the turbine towers and the blades and everything.
And what to do with the big lumps of concrete.
Yeah, and the other thing is, of course, when you've got gas or nuclear, you haven't got to worry about storage when they're not working. So you've got this other calculation based on the chap I spoke to from Manchester. If you wanted to have enough batteries to hold the island up for one day, it would be £1 billion per day. And then you've got to charge them back up again once they're all flat. You've also got the inefficiencies of it. You know, if it's not windy, like in the UK, they've been barely producing 1% with all those turbines for the last sort of 2 or 3 days. You've then got to start turning on and off gas turbines and coal power stations to keep up with demand. So a bit like a car, it's not very good on the old fuel if you keep turning the thing on and off every 2 minutes. So you've got this almost a skewing saying, oh, they're cheaper, but they're not taking into account things like the massive tax breaks and subsidies that they've been receiving, even when they're not working, which has not ever applied to the traditional power stations that we've been having for over 100 years. So,
but remember, the whole thing with renewable energy now is it's been enveloped into politics. So the geopolitical, if you like, the renewable political agenda, and it's a political agenda that's been folded into the ecological side of things. It's been folded into social protest. It's at the moment, it's the way of the world. It's the way of the world and the way on heavens. We need to look after the planet. There are many ways to look after the planet. So, you know, the whole thing with wind farms has been, if you like, shrouded under this ecological circus tent. It's inside that. And we don't quite know how much it's going to cost in the end.
Yeah. The politics was slightly showed yesterday, I think, in the sense that Alex said that he wasn't concerned about Moody's downgrading Ørsted to a negative outlook. But if you remember some time ago when Moody's were talking about downgrading the Isle of Man from its AAA rating, they were quite worried about that. So it's kind of having the cake and eating it, isn't it?
Okay, I've got to go, Julian, because Ian's waiting. Thanks for being with us.
Okay, thanks, Andy.
Cheers now. Ian's on now. Hi, Ian.
Hello, Andy. I was listening yesterday to what the minister was saying, and as a tourist, if I was a horse tram lover, I'd be very, very worried, because they clearly don't care for the horse trams, do they, anymore? And they're going to go in a few years. They've been trying to get rid of them for years, haven't they? And it's such a crying shame. But no, what I did want to talk about was webcams. And if you want to promote the island, streaming webcams are probably the best way of doing it. And the only 2 webcams I can find that stream from the island are there's one at Scarlet Point, and I think the Ellen Vannin Hotel on Douglas Promenade has one as well.
Well, if you go to manxradio.com, Ian, we've got 15.
Yeah, but they're only snapshots, aren't they? They're not streaming.
Not streaming, no. But we haven't got that much money. So you mean constant ones?
Yeah. You put streaming webcams from all over the world. There's some beautiful webcams. You know, I mean, the quality of the Ellen Vannin Hotel one and the Scarlet Point one are really good. But you know, the gorgeous parts of the island, like Port Erin Bay, for instance, it looks like a horrible, wet, miserable day most of the time there.
Streaming webcams. Well, that's a brand new suggestion. I'm going to put that down in my book, Ian. Whereabouts are you, by the way?
Oh, I'm in Blackburn. I'm in sunny Blackburn today.
Oh, so we need a streaming webcam for Ewood Park. That's what we need. Oh, right.
Oh, well, no, football passes me by. But
all right. Thanks for calling.
All right. All the best, Andy.
Cheers now. How do you feel about that? Streaming webcams. Yes, he's quite right. Ours are only snapshots. I think they update about once every 3 or 4 minutes. But if you go to manxradio.com, click on Community, and on webcams, there's over a dozen webcams around the Isle of Man. We have got 3 at the bungalow, so it's not the most scintillating shot, but they are. I think they're DOI ones. But take a look. What do you think about that? Streaming webcams. If you have a streaming webcam, by the way, then by all means, get in touch with me. Email manninline at manxradio.com and tell me about your streaming webcam, and we'll give it a plug. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones today. Thanks for your attention. It's a real privilege. Going to be back tomorrow at high noon on Manx Radio.